Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming over to this channel. It is a pleasure to have you join me this evening. I have been waiting for this interview for the longest time. I know this gentleman personally. You know, he has established himself as one of the greatest coach of all times. I remember I always tell him this story, and he usually say if he had known, you know. But I remember when I got I passed for Excelsior High School and I wanted to come to Camperdown, and I packed all my trophies and I went over to Camperdown hoping to see Mr. Mills because I heard so much about him at the time. And he wasn't there, his assistant was there, and I sat outside, wait almost all day because I wanted to be a part of Mr. Mills' program. I heard great things about it. And when I started to run, I ended up having a little bit of stint in terms of Mr. Mills giving me some advice and coaching me for a short period of time. And he can say too that when I was able to make the Olympic team, the World Championship team, I always hung out with him because he had overwhelming amount of knowledge that I wanted for him to share with us. And life is a funny thing because over the years, I too have watched him grow and I've seen him achieve great milestones that athletes and coaches only dream about. So tonight we have in studio none other than legendary coach, Honorable Dr. Glen Mills. I'm going to bring him on screen. If you have any question, please hold him until the end. And then we are going to have an interesting conversation. Dr. Mills, how are you this evening?
I'm fine, Greg. I'm really happy to be here. I listened to the introduction, and it hurts, still hurts that I never had the chance to work with such a fantastic talent. I mean, every time I hear the story, it hurts because I watched you in high school, and I never knew I had a chance to coach you because you are extraordinary talent, and you had a good high school thing. But I think the association with both of us would have been even greater.
I
And
believe
we have had interaction throughout the years. I have one of the things that I treasure is the respect and thing that and the love that you show me throughout the years. Whether you're on the team or what, and the consultation with relays and guidance, and it is fantastic, and it's really a pleasure to talk to you this evening.
thank you very much, sir. Dr. Mills, coach extraordinaire. Well, coming from me, I can tell you that it is an honor to have you on this platform. I thank you very much for gracing us with your presence. For all the people who are watching this live on this platform now, and for those who will watch this at a later date, please tell us, Mr. Mills, where in Jamaica were you born?
I was born in Kingston. I was told that I was born in a nursing home somewhere in Oxford Street years ago, because that's in the 40s. So that's a long time.
Well, I tell you, Kingston is a good place. We're in Kingston exactly.
It's Oxford Road is downtown, in the western end.
Okay.
That's somewhere there, they said in a nursing home. So my when I do my investigation, and Oxford Street is somewhere in the western end of Kingston.
Okay. Okay. I have been looking for a lot of information on you when I was putting together the questions. And Mr. Mills, you have been a mystery in so many ways. A lot of your fans really don't know a lot about you, your background, and you as a person. Please tell us, what basic and primary school did you attend as a child?
Okay. So I spent most of my years in the eastern end. I grew up in Renault Lodge in Rockford. So I attended Winard Road Primary School, and then from there I went on to Camperdown High School. So
Yes, Winard Road. My mother actually went to Winard Road. I was born in Eastern Kingston, so I'm pretty much familiar with that. Um,
yeah, so
and
we Winard Road at the time. Winard Road was surrounded by, well, it's now Norman Gardens, but it was mostly bush and thing. We would look forward to go up there after school and lunchtime to get mangoes because it was laden with mango trees and things. So,
yes,
and I went to school when I was there. Quarry also went to Winard Road, but I was a couple of years ahead of him, and then he came on to Camperdown.
okay, okay. One of the things I find in our hometown, Mr. Mills, is that when I look at athletes, I find that when you grow up in a home with let's say both parents, it seems to bring forth a certain advantage, especially in terms of foundation and support and guidance. Did you grow up with both parents? Did you have siblings, or were you an only?
Okay, I am the first sibling. I'm the first for my father and mother. I grew up mainly with my grandmother. She took me from my infancy. I didn't probably around a year or a year plus, and so I grew up with my grandmother and my father. But my father was constantly on the hustle, so he was a hard working man, very much a laborer. And so my granny did most of the parenting, and I would give her tremendous credit for what I am today because she shaped me in a way that inspired me to work from my humble surroundings to where I am today.
Wonderful, wonderful. I can tell you that grandma has been the savior for a whole lot of young people.
Oh yeah, she was special. She grounded me in she was very religious, and Sunday school, yeah, church, etc. To the point where in my teenage I was actually a Sunday school teacher. So but she our philosophy and everything was grounded in our faith. And one of the miraculous thing about her is how she got so much done with so little.
Mm.
Um, it was fantastic.
Grandmothers can be magicians, though. You said that mangoes and all those things, and people who know about East Kingston, they'll know that we have a lot of fruit trees. What was life like for you growing up in Kingston?
Um, we life was tough. I wouldn't say it was the worst, but my father, he had several other children, and he used to work with the KSAC, and he lost his leg in an accident one early morning while working, and so he had to work with one foot. Then he became a janitor and so on. So he always tried hard to with everything that he could get to help us, but we had to do a lot. I mean, I had to, while in school, do like part-time job like at Times Store during the holidays, weekends, um, and so on to make ends meet. Um, so it wasn't a cakewalk. We grew up. Um, there was about eight of us in the house where we lived, and we had to share everything.
Hmm. You see, sometimes people see a person and they think that they were born with gold spoon in their mouth, and they don't realize how hard people have to work to get to where they are today. You were an athlete at Camperdown High School, Dr. Mills. What event did you compete in, and which one would you say was your favorite?
All right. So I hate to disappoint everybody. When I went to Camperdown, it was the first time I was sort of introduced to formative training and so on. So I was excited about it. I used to go out in the evenings and do my training and so on. But Greg, I just never had it. Um, I probably count more spikes, Neil, than I can remember. I was always at the back. So after a while, I said, no, this is not for me. And so I actually stopped training, and I used to stay back and wait for Donald because he lived in Harborview. So we would walk to the at the end of training. I'd walk with it. We would walk to the bus stop, and then he was very popular even at a young age, and a lot of time he would get drive. So and so I would go along with him, and they let me off when they get to Rockford because that's before. But so after I stopped, but I wanted to be a sprinter. I mean, everybody at that time at Camperdown, the majority of the athletes were sprinting, but the speed wasn't there. So I stopped, and I used to be at the training every day though, and thing. And one day, Coach Messam saw me, and he said, "Young man, what's wrong? Why you not training?" I said, Coach, really?" He said, "No, I didn't say, okay, I'm going to give you something to do. So he then made me like, at first it was like the gopher. Everything he needs go and so on. And then when he was a lawyer, and so when he had cases and thing, and he could make it to training, he would send the program, call him and say, give Young Mills the program, and he will tell the boys. So that's how it really all started. I actually became an assistant coach without knowing it, because I would tell the guys what to do and so on, and it felt good. And even the bigger ones older than me had to take orders of me, because the fear, one thing is that I report. If you don't do it, I will report you. So, you know, and then it really grew into me. And I says, well, look, I'm not an athlete, but I can be involved at a level in the sport. So that's how the continuation started.
I'm going to ask you a question similar to that, because I'm kind of curious now. I was talking to Raymond Stewart the other day, and he was saying that Mr. Mills was a blessing in so many ways, because he said that he had a headache and he didn't realize where the headaches usually come from. But he said that he realized that it was hungry. He was hungry all the time, and he said that you used to take them to your home, and him say you always had bully beef at home to serve them. And he said that it was a blessing in disguise, because after training they were so hungry. What were some of the challenges you saw some of these young athletes face
Well,
with?
one of the things, was that what I find that I would say 99% of the talented athletes who we recruited came from extremely poor family. And um, we nutrition was a major factor.
Mm.
And so myself, well, we grew up, but we weren't hungry. We found way to feed ourselves, whether it was at that time we plant kalaloo rice, aki rice, and that's how I learned to cook from an early age. Fried Johnny cake, we call fried dumpling and things. So I knew that boy, it's not nice to be hungry. So whatever I could do and whatever I could find because at the time I wasn't working any. I mean, I was a clerk somewhere. There was no great money, and we Cameroon never didn't have the kind of support the program, pretty much the school and what you could do. So I remember that I used to take them like every Friday when I get paid. I would take like maybe 10 of them, and we'd find some food place, and I'd buy them dinner.
Mm.
And it was so, I mean, it was, they look forward it so much that, and then I remember when I used to go to training, um by my lunch money for the week, once I go training Monday, I don't have no lunch money for the rest of the week. I had to go borrow from my grandmother. I don't know where she get money, but she always have something tied up. Because the nutrition was serious. We used to, then afterwards, as Jeff Brown became principal and I was able to get more out of the school, we used to cook every Saturday after we come from Sons. I mean, it was a big event. I mean, if you saw the amount of food these youngsters would eat, so it it's something that even the other day when I went for my award in Borough County, they a lot of them got up and spoke about those days and
Mm.
so on. So,
Well, I can.
I was forced to be coach, mentor, everything. Um, in during my tenure. But one thing though I benefit from it because I learned a lot. That's where honed my skills over the 30 years at Camperdown. And I was always fascinated with speed and the whole question of sprinting. So I knew when I look at the challenge, I knew I couldn't beat the Giants, KC, Calabar, and those things because we only had about the population of the school about 250, 300 boys. But I felt I could make an impact with the sprinting, and that's how we developed our tradition and reputation as a sprint factory.
You made your impact in many ways, and this one is a sensitive one, but it speaks to how talented you were as a coach. And in this case, you made it clear that you would not be denied. In Jamaica, it is said that young coaches sometimes find it challenging to get a break in their career. But we talk about it, so you did. You got the opportunity from Mr. Messam. But at some point, it said that you were fired after a new coach was hired. I don't know if the story is true or not. But the connection that you develop with the young athletes, they push and protest, and the school eventually reversed the decision. You can shed some light on that. But
All
if
right.
the story,
What really happened is that Mr. Mesamat formed a sports committee,
Mhm.
and he brought in people to assist him and so on because he was trying to build something, some help because it was just him alone and so on. So and then he made me a part of the committee. I was the secretary, and so on. So when he decided to retire, um, he had a coach from Panama, Mr. Scott, and he spent 1 year working with them, and I pretty much grew in that space because then I took over the class three, and started coaching them experimentally, but we were getting success, etc. And then he left, and they said, well, they need a coach, and he said, well, young Mills, give him the opportunity. So um, so I was appointed, but this was like the last month, like July, June. So September now, when Mr. Brown, the new headmaster, came in, he employed a new sports master.
Hmm.
And to understand, the sports master went to him and said, "Look here, who is the coach for the trap team?" And he told him that I was a coach. And he said to him, "No, you can't take that risk because this is a school that have the reputation of Donald Quarry and thing and so on. You need to get a recognized coach." And so they went ahead and employed a coach in September. So when that happened, I mean, I was shocked. I was heartbroken because I felt so excited about becoming the coach at Camperdown. So I didn't go back to any training or anything. I just got to work and head home. So one evening I was on the bus and I saw one of the athletes who we were very close. 'Cause he lived out by the eastern end. I think he lived in uh, anyway, he lived somewhere in the eastern end. So he was on the bus on his way home. So he saw me and he said to me, "What happened to you? I don't, nobody see you." I said, "No, I stopped coming. You guys have a coach." And then he said, "No, man, you're my coach." I said, "No, you have a coach." Him said, I said, "I can't come there. You have a coach." Him said, "No, you is my friend." I said, "Yes." So him said, "As my friend, I want you to coach me." So I said, all right. You ask me as a friend. So we decided to train up by Stadium West. At that time, there was nothing there. So I said, "Okay, don't bring nobody with you." So yeah, all right. So we started. After this first day passed, the next day I see him bring somebody with him. I said, "But that's not thing." Him said, "Well, you are my friend, and you called me. He's my friend." So I help out my friend. So and before the week ended, everybody here and all of them turned up to Stadium West. So I so I was coaching them. Although the coach was down by the school, and I
Hmm.
said, "Guys, but this guy," and said, "No, we don't know him, and we don't want him coaching." So I coached them. Wasn't getting any paid anything, and we went to champs, and we came fourth, and we won the
Wow.
100 last one and the 200 and so on, and it was just great. So when I was getting offers to coach at a school. Because I had friends at Excelsior, and they told them that I didn't wasn't thing, and they knew my thing at Camperdown, and he says, "Well, we're going to get a job here at Excelsior." And I don't know who told Mr. Messam. So when he went to the board meeting, he brought it up and thing and says, "How come?" Because he didn't know, and then I went home about a week later and I saw a letter with a check for I got paid for the whole season and appointed. That was one of the happiest day because I needed the money. I needed the money. So that's how it all started. And I spent, what, 30 years at Camperdown and decided to move on to professional.
You see, Dr. Mill, that's why it is important to give people the opportunity. I am doing the interview, but I'm in tune to the story because it's the first time I'm actually hearing the story. And a lot of people would give up, just like you say, you were discouraged at one point, but the opportunity just presented itself because of what you did and how others saw you, which it's a beauty here. You went on to become very instrumental in developing some of Jamaica's best high school athletes, people like the Kerry Johnson, the Garfield Campbell, the Hubert Butter Harris, Raymond Stewart, and many others. Judging based on your experience with these young guys, it was clear that you figured out a formula that worked for you over the past years. I wouldn't mind you share some of your secrets with us. How were you able to get these young men to believe so much in your coaching philosophy and the coaching system that you use to get the results that you did?
Well, okay. One of the things that my approach in coaching was very well. I don't know if it's unique, but I don't coach the one size fit all.
Hmm.
So I in other words, I look at each individual and look at what their strong points and weaknesses, etc., and gear my program to develop what they have and to strengthen their trauma and to build their weakness. But one of the most impactful thing I think is that I find that a lot of the youngsters, they never had a father figure in
Uh,
their life. They they had mother, aunties, granny, but even if the father is around, a lot of time um, I realize that there's what I'm boy. Why them? Sometimes I don't know my father. Sometimes my father no business with me, and so on. And it affected a lot of them, um, and they were unstable and so on and forward. So it I don't know. It was just natural for me to try to reach them. And so one of the way of reaching them is that you have to listen to them. I found that in growing up back in our days, you don't talk because if you talk, you're out of order. With adults, you keep quiet and you keep your point of view to yourself. But I encourage them to talk. Say talk whatever is on your mind. You can come and talk to me, and you might not always hear what you want to hear because I'm not going to encourage you in any wrong or so on. But and so a lot of them come and open up to me, and I realize that there is this void that they don't have a
true,
man to talk to
true, true.
about things that really, yeah, they have mom and thing and so on, but they're not comfortable talking. And so I would spend hours after training, each one coach I want to talk to when training done and so on, and the amount of advice and guidance that I have to get. I mean, I even had cases of athletes saying that they're going to commit suicide,
Wow.
and the amount of them that cry on my shoulder. The one, his mom left him and had gone to Venezuela. She left him and his brother, and he with people, but you know what that is. When she send money, they get it or don't get it, and him say, Coach, I can't bear the hunger anymore. I can't bear to see my brother, and
Wow.
so on and so forth. And I just end it all. And so we had to spend the night talking to him and promise him what we were going to do to help him and thing. And I'm telling you, Gregory, God is wonderful because a lot of things that I was able to do, I don't
Yes.
know where. I mean, it's sometimes I said to somebody the other day, says when I look back, I think my salary was like the five loaves, the five fishes and two loaves. Them and so he was able to finish school, etc. He went on to have a master's degree, own a
Hmm.
huge place in Chicago and what have you and so on. Every now and then he sends me, "Hi, father." and so on. So and there's so many of them. One was, I mean, was tragic. He was going to his father was beating him because of his stepmother, and he says he's gonna kill him once and for all. And we had to give him hope and tell him, I look here, if you bear it for so long, just give me the end of the season, I get your scholarship, get you out of here. He wasn't he said, Coach, don't lie to me, because I'm not scholarship material. I said, no, man, I'll get you a scholarship. He said, Coach, you have never lied to me. I love you. And I said, yes, yes, yes. He said, Coach, if you lie to me, I said, no, but I had to do something. I mean, he had made up his mind. He cried. I never seen an 18-year-old and cry like that. Because he says it's the end. So I said, but in those days, you could get into junior college. It was
Yeah.
not as tough. And so we as a coach wanted one of the top guys, and I said, Coach, you, if you, I have several schools who want this guy, but if you want him, I send him to you, but you have to take another athlete. You can't. So him say, no, I don't have enough. I said, well, I'm going to send him to so and so. And then he said, all right, I'll see what I can do. Um, the day when that I-20 form arrived, I mean, I was so happy because
Yeah, I can
let me
imagine.
have. But when I called him and give it to him and tell him that to go to the embassy and thing, and it, it, those things you can't buy with money.
True.
Because if you saw him and saw what it did for him, and when I remember a couple of years after I didn't know what happened, I went to Penn Relays and he saw me and the way he went on, and everybody was saying, this guy is, and he turned to them and say, yeah, yeah, this man saved my life. He's my dad in this. And he was working, he was the supervisor at a big warehouse somewhere in Manhattan. And so, and there's so many of them. So this is the kind of thing that we were able to do, not just get them to run up and down. I mean, there were some of them I thought I'd teach them to read. They couldn't, they had difficulty reading, help them with schoolwork. It was just amazing what we were able, what I was able to do with them. And when I went to the function, then so many of them came from all over in America.
Well deserved.
I'm telling you, it's something else.
And what you're saying, Dr. Mills, make a lot of sense because I see today many of these coaches think that it's all about the physical training and they don't seem to understand that the athletes have personal issues that usually interfere with their ability to perform. So what you're saying here now, I hope a lot of the coaches understand that it is important to be a mentor or learn to transition also in mentoring because it's necessary to help some of these young athletes to get to the next level. Um, you were doing an awesome job with the youth in terms of creating future athletes for Jamaica. You also did a magnificent job at the professional level. What influenced you to make that transition from coaching high school to the point where you now wanted to transition into coaching professionals?
Well, there were while I was at Camperdown, I was also involved with the national effort because I was assistant coach from in the 70s. I used to go with the national team as assistant coach. Spent many years behind her McKinley and so on and so forth. And so the exposure to the international situation when you go to the Olympics. I've been to about 10 Olympics, and so I've been going from way back. And so that gave me the urge that I would want to be involved at the next level. We used to do in the high school. We used to go to the states to pen relays. We were on the wall of fame. We won about 9 championship of America in about 12 years, and that sort of thing. So you begin to whet your international appetite. And I was so, and I remember when things started getting rough in terms of um, there was a time when the scholarship to America was greatly reduced, and the clearinghouse that brought in stronger, higher standards that was needed in order for you to get a scholarship to a level 1 school, university, etc. Division 1 school and that program. So a lot of our athletes were going to NIA and junior college, it was rough. And a lot of them, especially the males, we lost so many talented things. And so I was an advocate when I started for Jamaica to start keeping those who, because a lot of them who were going away at the time were really going to get degrees, because some of them were, the standard. But
Yes. Yes.
um, the thing was that you can't stay in Jamaica. You have to go abroad because there's nothing here. So I used to in the day say that what can be done to start a program where we can prepare athletes for the senior level here.
Okay.
So it after 2000, the year 2000, I started got more and more a stronger passion to coach at the higher level. And so I at the time, I was involved with Kim Collins, because he came out here and spent a stint with another coach. And I saw this guy and I said, whoa, this guy just thing. And so I told the coach there's his association to send him back to Jamaica, and I will coach him. And I won't charge him. So I started working with him, and he improved. It was his improvement was phenomenal, and then he went off to college.
Yeah.
And while he was at TCU and so on, I used to help the coach with the program and coaching him and thing and so on. Um, so I realized from then, but I always believed that I had the ability to coach at the next level. And I always had confidence in my coaching philosophy and so on. I remember in about 19, I think it's 77, I went to a high level course in Mexico. And there were professors from all over the world. It was the Olympic solidarity thing. And the guy who did sprinting, um, when he lectured and the questions, and I put forward my theory to some of the things that he was saying and things, he was so enthused that he invited me to come up by him in the afternoon, in the evenings after thing, to discuss things. So I go up there a couple of times, and he's questioning me. I said, after that, I said, no man, I'm not going back. This guy is drawing out what my theories are not out of my head. I ain't going back there. But when I went to the States to work with Kim Collins for about 6 months, just before he won at the World Championship. But it just wasn't my thing to stay there. So I came back home, and when I came back, I started. I had about 3 or 4 persons we were working with um, at races, and then I got involved with the High Performance Center at the time. Bolt and Gonzalez and they were there, and some other people from the small islands. Coleman was coaching Bolt and the quarter mile. Forget his name right now, but so I was working with the other kids from St. Kitts and Antigua and so on and so forth until I branched out into fully working with my club racers.
I want to talk a little bit about racers, but I want to ask you this question first. And the reason why I want to ask you this question because online we have a lot of potential coach or young inexperienced coach that may need to get this information because you were doing an awesome job with the young people. What were some of the things that you learned when you're coaching the young athletes that you carried over into coaching the professionals that you found to be absolute truth?
Well, I tell you, Greg, I am driven by my philosophy. I have different philosophies, the philosophy for life in general, and my coaching thing is no different. And so, um, in working with young kids, one of my thing is that you have got to get the youngsters to have some confidence in you and to
Yeah.
believe in you. And the way to do that, you have to be sincere and true to them, what you're doing. You got to listen to them. One of the things is that I noticed that they don't listen to them. They don't listen to them enough. And with these youngsters, when you don't listen to them, it causes a wedge between you and them. They feel you don't care, and so on. So if you're going to be successful, you've got to get the attention of these youngsters to believe in what you're telling them, and you have to also you're forced to operate with a high level of integrity and ethics.
Yes.
They,
Yes.
they, 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 they pay attention to everything you do. And even if they don't confront you about it, they have it in the back of their mind.
So
So
true.
if they hear you telling lies, for example, and when you come and you talk to them and you say, they go different. He's my liar, so you can't listen to what I tell you. And so right away, although you might be telling them something that is good for them, are you guiding them the right way? Because of the opinion they have of you, you're not going to get past first base. You understand? Because they do one of the things that they do, they do talk to each other,
Yes. Yes.
and they discuss you, and they notice how you operate. So if you are reprimanding them about certain things and they feel that you're not in a position to tell them or to rebuke them, you're not going to get anywhere. And once you don't have that control, um, you're in trouble. Because I find even when I was coaching these youngsters and they go and they want to do something wrong, and somebody will say, "Hey, you can't do that, cause you will let down Coach Mills, or Coach Mills are going, nah, everything like that." And it makes a difference. It makes a difference. So you as a coach have to hold yourself to a higher standard. It's not just saying run 300, run 400. When you have hold yourself to that standard, it makes an impact on the people you're coaching.
So true. So
You
true.
understand? And when they go out there to perform, although they're doing it for themselves, but they also feel a part of them saying, I've got to get it done because Coach Mills. I tell you something, when you saying went to Beijing. When he ran the 100, when he ran and he won the 100 meters, I was sitting in the stand. I don't know how he saw me where I was. Like I wasn't with the thing. And then he came up and he called me and he says, um, this medal, that is your medal. I go get my own him say, no, coach, that is for you. I want that for you. I'm going to go win my own in the 200 and him jog out and run off.
Nice.
Shit, man. But it tells me that he's not just running out there and hitting his chest for himself, but in the back of him head, he's saying, I'm also doing this for Coach Mills. And it means a lot because even even with the quarter miler who won just the other day, you understand? When
Yes.
he came around and he came to me and say, are you this are your one, I said, no, he's right. Him say, no, the way the things you tell me and the way you think, that's how I get out there and I win. Because he said, in the finals, when he reached the backstretch, he felt his hamstring and he was going to stop. And he said to him, he said, no, I can't stop. If I can continue, I'm going to continue. And he saw the race he ran and he says, I just hear you in my ears coming down the home stretch. So it does pay as a coach, the kind of impact you can make on your athlete, because it has a great thing in their character and how they go out there and perform and the things that they do.
You see, that's some valuable information, and I hope the coaches online that they are listening to this, because a lot of times people get caught up into the physical part, the training, and they don't understand that the key is to connect with the athletes and understand some of the pain and the
One thing you
injury.
see, Gregory, is that one thing I know, information and knowledge in today's world
Yes,
is not a problem. You can, it, anything you don't know, it's on the internet. So it is not like any coach no more has access to more information or what have you. Information, when I Google and so on, it's all there, different version, different this. The key is that the coach has to understand that he is not just a giver of information, but he's a processor. And how well you can process the information that you acquire to apply to your coaching thing and the impact you make, that is what going to make the difference in you being just a coach or a very successful one.
makes sense, and I hope they are listening. You started the Racers Track Club. It seemed like it was two Racers Track Club, because you started one in about 1978, 79, and you started one again. What was the main reason for starting the Racers
Ah,
Track Club?
the, the, the how the Racers Track Club started is interesting. Um, at the time I was coaching Camperdown, and there was a youngster there who was a good friend of a sprinter. I think it's Donovan Russell at KC. So Kingston College the last champs, and they were expected to win. And the guys who were supposed to, about four of them didn't do as well as they could in terms of giving points. And I don't know, they never get scholarship or whatever what they do. So um my sprinter came to me and asked me if Donovan could come and train with me, train with the Camperdown group, and him trying to get a scholarship. I said, okay, no problem. But Then about a week later, Donovan brought three others to train, say if they can train. I said, okay, gentlemen, you know, um, train and whatever I can do to help you get scholarship, fine. So they started training with us, and the Gibbs relay was coming up, and they said that they wanted to run in Gibson. So I said, but you can't run, you can't, we don't have a club, you can't run. You have to be a club for. And then Donovan said, well, form a club, we're a club. Call us, give us a name, and we run as a club. So we decided that we'd call them Striders or something like that. So we entered. Irma Kelly said, no, you can use Striders because there's a club name there. There's a club that existed named Striders, and somebody came up with the name Racers. So they ran at Gibbs Relay and they won as Racers. But
Ah,
after that, then I was able to get all four of them scholarship, and so they left. So there were no more. I wasn't into the club thing. It was just that one-off situation,
mm, okay.
and so and so when they left, then so the whole racers thing. And then later on, now, a couple of years after, um, Dennis Johnson started the, this relay thing and Bolts of
Bolts
Lightning.
of lightning. Yeah, I remember those days.
Right. So then we wanted to run. He invited us to run, and so we pick up back the name Racers again. So remember we one time Rayman came down and run for us. He went, so we started back the Racers and we ran as Racers. People like John Mayer and so on run, and then after that died. So did the activity Racers until um, I decided now to take up the professional coaching, and we revitalize, resuscitate the Racers again to the Racers it is now. So it's been
Okay.
a checkered past until its stability set in since 2000 and what, 4, 2003, thereabout.
I that makes sense because when I saw the races, I was wondering if it was to help some of the athletes, mainly from your school, who wanted to transition and didn't get a scholarship and wanted to stay back, and you would use the race as a way.
No, no. I wish, yeah, I had some talented people that I felt that if I could have kept them here at that time, well,
In terms of scholarship, then it in that time, do you think it was the best thing based on the thing that you said about some of the athletes they needed to get out of the poverty-stricken situation? What your view on that then, and what your view on that now?
well, at that time it was the only avenue. There was no alternative um, at that time. So going to America and scholarship was not just people who were talented. It was a means to an end.
Hmm, makes
We had
sense.
a lot of people who got scholarship and went away. Only did so in order to better themselves in the American experience. And
Yes.
and in the case, if you look at the history of our male athletes during that period, we lost some great talent
So true.
who distinguished themselves as champs and just went away and dropped out. Some of them getting involved in unsavory activities and so on and so forth. And but um, so a lot of them were leaving here to go on scholarship, If we be truthful, we would not survive the rigors of academics and things. 'Cause the foundation was weak.
Yes.
And so they got over there and the bright lights and thing. They said, look, let me move on, you know. But at that time, it was there was no alternative. Now you have a credible alternative.
This question is very dear to me, and we can tie it into what you just respond to in terms of giving athletes the opportunity to either stay or go. But I find that, and I heard you talk about it on numerous occasions, about the transitioning from amateur to professional, and you and I know that there is no, it's not easy, because a lot of young athletes fail to transition successfully to the next level for many reasons. Sometimes the coaching system is not right, the environment is not right, the structure of the program itself is not right. I want you to talk to young athletes now. In your own words, can you give these young developing athletes tips on how to successfully navigate the transitioning process from amateur to the professional? Because we have seen so many of them fail, those that you talk about with tremendous talent. We have seen so many of them fail. What can you say to some of these young athletes now that can help them to have a better perspective on what it will take to transition successfully from amateur to the professionals?
All right. The first thing is that the the transition, as you pointed out, from amateur to professional, they have, most of them have a false idea of what it takes and what it is. And so I would advise them, if you're thinking about it, you need to do your research. And the biggest encyclopedia research is to talk to the successful athletes that are at your disposal. You have the Shelley and Fraser Price, you have the Usain Bolt, you have Asafa Powell, you have all these um, persons who have been in it for years and have done fairly well, etc. You need to sit down and try to have a talk with them, and if you don't get through to the athlete, talk to the coaches and managers who are involved in the process. Don't wait until your final year, or so. If you're thinking of getting involved at that level, start getting yourself educated about what it takes, what demands are, etc. And if after you have had enough data, you still believe that you have the passion and to do it and so on, then the next thing you need to do is to be careful of your choices. Um, you got to be careful where you choose to continue your thing. You got to take some time, look at the programs, look at the results, look at the and find the one that you think is best suited for you. Um, and once you do that, you will make better choices and you will have a better opportunity of succeeding. Um, the you A lot of the youngsters are not prepared for what they are going to face, and when they it is confronted, a lot of them don't have the fortitude and the will and thing to survive, and some of them unfortunately choose circumstances which is not in their best interest for their development. And so with all that kind of there's so many hurdles to negotiate. If you know that if you hit the hurdle, you're going to fall down, and not many of them get up. Um, another thing is that at the risk of being controversial, a lot of young I see too much effort to push young athletes. Some of them are too young to go into the professional ranks. They start in the journey too early. They're not ready for it, both physically and mentally. And you stand a chance of losing them. Thing. I would advise all young athletes, if you're not going to go to college, you should stay in high school for as long as um, possible to get to develop the kind of maturity and thing before you jump into the professional ranks. Because the transition is not easy, and if you're not mentally prepared for it, you could get burned.
Mr. Mills, I appreciate you taking the time to talk about that. And with your level of knowledge and expertise, you have seen it so many times. And I hope those who are listening hear what you are saying. If you're not going to college, stay in school as long as you can so you can fully develop. And these are some of my fears too, Mr. Mills, because I feel as if one bad mistake can cost you everything. And I've never seen where corporate Jamaica hire some of us as athletes when we had the potential, but we fell short for whatever reason there
No,
is.
that's not going to happen. And one other thing is that I hear I'm criticized for being too slow with my athletes. I take too long to think. But one other thing uh, that it don't really matter to me. But one thing I know is that when I get these athletes, great, great doctor, um they're not ready for this kind of thing. So I have to spend the time, whether it's a year or 2 hours or for the transitioning period. Because um young Antonio Watson is has a good head and um good attributes and thing towards his trade, his discipline, he listens, his so on and so forth. But a year ago, I when he came into our program, I said, look, I sit him down. I said, son, you're not ready for the international thing yet. Let us do some work, both mentally, physically, give you experience thing. And he listened and he was patient, and I was very impressed with how he advanced. Although he didn't do anything significant last year, but the foundation was laid. Because he understood and he listened and he wanted to. So and a year later, he's on top of the world. I mean, everybody won't have that kind of Cinderella thing, but I would advise the coaches who get them to spend some time to develop them, both not just physically but mentally and so on, to prepare them. Because when you, as I tell them, look here, when you come, you're not racing against the people who you see at the stadium and thing. You're racing against the world. And so it's a totally different package from going to champs and run against your schoolmates. So you come to a job where you are competing worldwide. It's a different story, so
I appreciate
um,
you sharing that information, Mr. Bills. These are so much valuable nuggets. And you have been there, you have been coaching for over 50 years or close to. So you have the knowledge and the experience to share with them.
it's, it's getting closer to 60.
By age 60. um, Let me answer this question, Mr. Mills. I personally give you full 100 for what you have done over the years. You have coached some of the legend in the business. You have Kim Collins, world champion. You have Johan Blake, and we talk about the legendary Usain Bolt. I want you to explain this to us, because we can say without a doubt that your knowledge and experience put you above everything, every other course based on what you have accomplished. What are the three most common characteristics you have found sprinters possess that push them to eventually become great champions? Because when we tie this into the transitioning, these three common characteristics must be visible to someone like you. What are these three that you would help us to better understand what it will take to become great champions in our events?
Well, in sprinting, you've got to have the confidence that, and you have to believe that you are unbeatable. In reality, you're not unbeatable, but if you believe, is that the foundation of your belief, where you are fierce and fearless as a sprinter. It's the first ingredients to get into the level where you become a super thing. You cannot go to the start doubting, no matter what time you come into the race with. Um, I don't like to use Hussein because of his exceptionality, but even him is human, because when we went to Beijing 2015, it's the first time in his career that he's going there as what you call an underdog, because he was not the fastest. He wasn't going there with the world leading time. I mean, um, his American counterpart was running 9.7, like it was just really half the thing. So when he went there, he had to go there with the belief that I am the champion, and I'm confident that I cannot be beaten. And you saw how close the race was, and what it took to win. Once a sprinter have doubt and in himself and his ability, he's going to have problems. So we look for people who display that kind of confidence and so on. Sometimes we misunderstand it and we call it arrogance and the show off and thing and so on. But if you look, it's part of their personality. Yeah, you seeing doesn't do the things he does because he doubt himself. Neither does when Carl Lewis used to run, or Noah Lyles, or Safa Powell. You've got to display that kind of arrogance. Now, it cannot be obnoxious, but it is a quality that you need to have if you're going to be at the top of sprinting. Noah Lyles is working on his anti, and everybody says, it's too this. When you look at the 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 Jamaican, I mean, when you look at Fraser, when you look at Fraser Price, when you can see the intensity when she leave that blocks to there is no doubt as to where she's going. um that speed is able to be maintained at a high level for a long time,
Yeah,
and she looks uncatchable, and she's uncatchable. If she has doubt in that process, then everybody will catch her.
so true. So true.
So these are some of the things that there's one thing that you look for in with a sprinter if they're going to. Of course, the physical qualities are a must. You know, the speed and so on. But another thing that I um in writing is the technique. I'm a technique freak, if you want to call it that. I believe that that's one of the greatest way you can improve. And so, if my sprinter is willing to work overtime on his technique, and we will spend the time, I know we have success in the making.
Make a lot of sense. And some of these things that you talk about too, they must embody um, commitment and determination and discipline and sacrifice in order to bring out the best in the
Yeah,
person.
whether you're sprinter or walker or thrower or jumper, those things are common to success. The discipline, the commitment, passion. If you don't have those, you're not gonna be able to take on the world and beat the world.
My question to you with this, how can you help an athlete to develop that mindset with discipline, determination, and sacrifice? Is there anything in your coaching philosophy that you can talk about that help a person to develop this so they can get the most out of their talent?
Well, I believe that somewhere in that person they have to have a spark because you need something to work with. So even if the person is not is not living up to the thing and so on, but in their inner self they want it and they believe and it's there. Um, I have a lot of time. I spend a lot of time. I talk a lot. They'll tell you, coach is always preaching. It's a full time, when you have them, it's a full time thing to inculcate into them um, the things that is the tools that they have to have and the mental fortitude, um, the discipline, and so on. Like for example, at races, we don't allow when you start training, we don't allow music over your head and phone and thing. It's banned. The athlete says, "Oh, but coach is boring, and we need the vibes and thing." I said, "That is the very reason why you don't need you don't need to put it on in there. You must develop the inner strength to go through the drudgery and the pain and the boredom. Let's feel it as part of your thing. Don't block it out because when you block it out, you get a false impression of what the
True,
reality is.
true,
The
true.
reality is that when you come to training, you come to punish your body to get results. Your body is a machine and you've got to prepare that machine. Putting that thing over your head and feeling nice and bouncing to the beat is taking away. It's like
The awareness.
it's the awareness. Great, thank you, Doc. It takes away the awareness and it takes away the experience
Yes,
that
so
you must
true.
have from training to go out there to compete. And you understand that when you go to compete, you cannot go in with it. So when you enter to go to the call room, you have to get rid of them. All the phone and the speakers and the music cannot enter the arena. You have to take it off and leave it. So if you are so attached to it, and at the point where you're going to face your competition, it is taken from you. Right away, a void is created. And in some persons, it affects some more than some. There are those who it don't affect, I must admit. It don't affect at all because their mind is at a different level. But the majority, it does affect them. Um, if you see them, the phone, they look at it. And if you allow them, they run and they come and they run and take up the phone and look again. No, that can't work. You've got to focus. You got to feel what it is to prepare so that when you go to compete, you are prepared. The rigors and the toughness, you need to experience it every day. And so we try to tell the athletes and to teach the athletes. I have sometimes weekly meetings. I have special training sessions for the mind where there's no training. We sit down and um, we hour and a half of thing. We We talk about the Martin Luther King, the I Have a Dream, the what have you. So it's not just running and running and running. We work on the mind. So when you see our athletes go there to perform, we are good because we work on we know the importance of the mental preparation. If the mind is the center, and with all your physical prowess, if that mind is not up to that, you ain't gonna get nothing. You ain't going to be successful. So
Um,
that is a very key to the preparation.
I hope the coaches are listening to what you're saying, because sometimes, as you say, false sense of an disillusion in terms of what it will take. I can relate to it, and you will see that most successful athletes can relate to what you're saying. For me, Mr.
Now,
Mills,
I've seen 2007, the leading long jumper in the world, an American young miss. I don't remember her name. And she was warming up and she had the music and she was dancing and thing. And so when she went to the call room, she had it on and the Japanese, I said, ah, so no, no. No." She said, no, 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 gotta have it, I gotta have it. And it said, no, you gotta take it off, you can't go in. And she wouldn't give it up. They called security, and eventually security said, if you're not going to give it up, we escort you away from the ear so that the others. They said, put it and bag it, and at the end you get it. And she went in, and I don't think mentally she recovered. Three no job. It was one of the big story at the meet. Three no job. I said, I feel that have something to do with it. The
I, to-
mind,
I totally
the
agree.
mind is crucial in success, and how you train it is important when you go to competition.
I totally agree with you. And as a mental coach too, I have to agree with you even more. I also do believe that chemistry is important. Chemistry between coach and athlete. And I find that the chemistry, Mr. Mills, that you develop with Usain Bolt help him to be as successful, because these things that you're sharing with us, I'm not assuming, I would say you share these things with him. In your opinion, how did the chemistry develop, and when did you realize that he was special when you took over his preparation?
Um, all right. When he came to me in 2004, and that was after he had that terrible experience at the Olympics where he ran out in the heats, and I think he ran 21 something, and so although he had broken the world junior record, he had run 19 of his last. When he came to me, he was running 21. So, and I think that experience at the Olympics affected him in more ways than one. And so when he came to me, we were strangers because I never really had any kind of interaction with him before. And so the first couple of months and thing was I had my regimental thing and so on and so forth. And that was news. That was strange to him. It didn't go off very well. And we weren't making a lot of progress, especially the first part of the thing. But my experience and thing, and so I realized that one of the main problem was that he was a professional at as what 17, 18, and who at the time didn't know what it was to be a professional. He might know what it means, but don't know what it was. In that, no experience, no preparation, no nothing. He just thrown into being a professional, and so I realized that. um, two things I had to do. I had to win his confidence, and I had to teach him what it meant to be a professional.
Makes sense.
And once I got his confidence, the rest was easy. And so the relationship grew um, significantly strong because I was not just coaching him, I was also a listener, and I was also training him in other areas mentally and so many things. So and then I what one of the things that impressed him a lot was that I always tell him exactly I don't try to tell him give him a false picture or a rosy picture. I say you're gonna have to take some, you're gonna lose some races, you're gonna have to learn how to compete, and that part of that competing is losing. But as you get better and better, then the losing will disappear all with your thing. And as he saw the development and the result, and then it becomes a reality, his confidence and belief grew stronger and stronger, and everything was thing, but it was rocky at the beginning, and
Mhm.
yeah, people would know the story because but how it turned out. Even in the beginning, in the early stages when we were going through the thing, a lot of people the problem was that you need to get another coach. Mills don't know what he's doing, blah blah blah, and thing, and you need to go to this coach and that coach. So I remember even in the media, even the drawing, drew cartoons of him, etc. I remember one day we sat down with him and I said, you see, listen, don't what is happening, you have no control over. But what you have control over is that if you have confidence in what we're doing and I have a confidence in you, we can forget the rest of the world and we will get the job done together. And he put him on my shoulder and says, Coach, I believe in you. I said, let's get to work. So until today,
I,
um, the relationship is so strong. I mean, he said, Coach, you still going to keep coaching. I'm retiring, you know. I can't take care of you. You said, I need to still have some fun. But
when did you realize, Mr. Mills, that Usain could break the world record in the 100 and the 200?
all right. When he came to me as a 2-4 man, right? And so we started that kind of program, but part of the problem was that he had no use of the 400. He just not in the training or running the over distance, etc. So I said to him, all right, we concentrate on the 200, but um, I don't coach no one event, man. But I couldn't coach him for 100 at the time because um, he never had the kind of explosive strength and thing. He was going to tear up his muscles, but he had the speed. We were in London, and we were running some. Kim Collins was doing 60 meters. I never had anybody to run with him, and I said, "So you saying come here? I want you to run, and just run beside Kim, and we came." And at the time, Kim was what was one of the top 10 in the world thing, and you see, was just bumming along with him in the 60s. I said, no, man, this guy, this guy not real. And then when he got strong enough and we started no, 2007, after he ran the 200 and came second, he was he was distraught that he didn't win and thing. And he came to my room at 2 o'clock from thing and said, knocked me up and was talking about the race and and thing. And said, why am I for do for win and thing? And I said, well, you need to go to the gym and do some more work and thing. But then I sat down and I was thinking, what can we do? And when I look at it, the people who were beating him were all on running under 10 seconds. So I said, in the preparation for the Olympics, we got to get more speed. So I decided to train him for speed, and then later on we would stretch out the speed. And so we started the season, and I put him on the 100-meter program and so on and so forth. And when he ran his first 100, he ran 9:76. But the manner in which he ran it was of such that people were excited, but some students of the games felt that the time wasn't correct. I mean, one American accused us of doctoring times at the stadium. But when I saw that, I said, "Oh, but that's just outside the world record, and it's his first 100." So I said to his agent, we wanted to go to New York to run against Tyson Gay because I feel he can beat Tyson and he'll break the world record. And um, now with the 200, well, we always felt confident he could, if he runs that fast, he must break the 200. My biggest disappointment is that he never ran under 19 seconds because he
Mm.
could easily run under 19 seconds. Um, 2009, when he ran the world record, 1919, he was just about 85% fit because he had met in an accident where he had written off the car in somewhere in what, March, April, and he missed at least 6 weeks of intense training because he, nothing structural was wrong with him, but when he came out of the car, it was the car landed in a maca tree, and when he came out, one of those tall knocker ran up in his foot bottom. And when he went to the hospital, they were trying to take it out, but in so doing, they push it down further. I don't know if you
Mm.
ever tried to pick out splint and you find
Yeah.
that you push it down. So they had to. The decision was that it's they if they operate, slit it and take it out, then it would being in his foot bottom, he could lose the season. But if he in time he could work it way out. Back in the days, he used to use banana and kerosene island. You don't know those days.
Yeah, man.
You
Remember
put it
them
and it dry, and I said dry
days?
it out. So, but we during that time he couldn't go around the bend. He just amble along with the um like with the pool training and so on and so forth. So he didn't have the speed endurance that, because after he finished the 100, he was really tired, and he says in an interview that him going back to run the finals, it was his roommate who encouraged him to go and just put everything on the lay it out, and he's around 1919. Um, but I was confident if he didn't lose so much training, he would have run under 90. Or if the 200 was first, he would have run under 90. And that was his, in those days, it was what, 4 rounds? So,
Makes
um,
sense.
but um, the thing though, Greg, is that as great as you're saying is, as his coach, I can tell the world that they didn't see the best of it. He was capable of running much faster.
Um, I believe you tell me why. Tell me what you saw, because you saw him every single day. You know what the training entails. Why would you say that? Let the audience know from
Why?
your perspective.
All right. The first thing is that, all right, when the season is over, he's done. He's gone to do his own thing. He's done. So when he comes back to start the season, his condition is way below what it should be. If he maintain active rest and keep his physical pose at a higher level of conditioning, then because when you start back from scratch, you have to build up to where you are then beyond. By the time that comes around, it's competition time. He has to go run on the circuit. He has to structure thing, etc. Once you start traveling and thing, you lose some amount of training, etc. So I couldn't get him to do active rest. Um, and it's borne out like in the early stage, like February. So anybody beat him, we run um when he 2010, when he went to Stockholm, he struggled to break 10 seconds and just call it a season. I think it was Tyson who won the race, etc. So, and then by the time 2012, he ran 963 in 17 degrees weather, which is just 500 of a second outside the world record. And had he not turned and thing, he would have broken the world record then. Had he just gone through the tape, five to 100 or 5,000, I say it's nothing. Um, and every year we have to start almost from scratch.
From scratch.
Yeah, I see. I can go to Gibson Relay and draw the button behind with him the spray and can't catch the man. And then by the time the games comes around, he's again on top of the world. So during that high and low, if he maintain a certain level, from season to season, he would be running much, much faster.
Mm, makes sense. And I
And
could
and
see
and
that.
then again, it's 200. We used to we have he is bent and running the 200 his way, which is the way you see him running. Well, I'm trying to influence him not to run the turn so hard, because if he regulate it more better, his deceleration wouldn't be so great at the end. He would run under 18 easy. When he ran the 1919, he's the only man ever to run under 10 seconds around the bend from the blocks. His first split was for the first one was 9 point something. I don't remember the exact 9 1. It's crazy. If he run 10 flat down the street, he run 8 something. But
Well,
his philosophy is he ain't waiting around for nobody. So I said, well, I'm not going to win that. So all I do is teach him to run the corner more efficient and things, so that when he runs that one, he gets so much out of it that you won't catch him. He's not in danger. By the time you come off the third, he's so far ahead. Even when he start tying up at the end, it's impossible to catch him. You know? Well, it was really fun coaching him, though. We had some
it's
great times.
yeah, and I tell you, you said that, and this segue right into the question, because when I saw that he was about to retire, and I think they pressed him to run one more year, I said that track and field in Jamaica won't be the same once Usain Bolt retires, because I realized that a lot of people were pulling energy from him. We have a lot of potential athletes now with great potential, but one of the things we are not able to see right now, Dr. Mills, is the potential translating into medals, medals, and more medals. I want you to share your expert opinion as to what it will take to get some of the men that we have right now on the podium where we can do it consistently, time after time after time.
Um, it we the one of the problem and the hurdles to overcome is the high school system. I mean, the coaches do a great job. Trumps is fantastic in that, just by itself, and Trumps has been good to us, in terms of what he has been able to accomplish over the years and the unearthing of talent and so on. But at the same time, there's a lot of, I don't want to say evil, but there are a lot of things that hurts, a lot of the talent, in champs. And so I would love to see a working relationship between a technical, a highly technical, group at the national level, um, a highly group at the national, working with the coaches, able to work with the coaches to advise them about the best practices of these outstanding talent while under their care in high school.
Totally
A
agree.
lot of damage is done from then. One
Totally
of the
agree.
worst thing can happen to a youngster, a sprinter, is to get a hamstring injury while in school. It
Yeah.
follows you through the rest of your career,
Yes.
if it is not treated properly. And, there's too many instances of these youngsters getting hurt, and, and the school just leave them because champs finish, and then your foot, it will heal, in time. So when you get back in September, it's healed, but God help you,
Scar
that
tissues. Yeah.
scar tissue and the lack of the treatment and rehabilitation is gonna haunt you for the rest of your life.
Makes sense.
Right now I have one, that we're working for the past 2 years to try to re resuscitate and thing. We're doing all that we can. We're beginning to see some light at the tunnel. But we talk about one, outstanding talent while in school. You know,
Yeah.
it was awesome. And there's another one now. He's still in school, but I think he's so talented that I'm trying to help him from now to overcome this scar thing that he got hurt, and, allow it to heal. And it's affecting him now. But trust me, if we can get that guy back, he's going to be something to talk about. So as I said, I'd love to see something like that, and that the coaches will listen, and, because both boys and girls, um, we're not taking care of the talent the way we should. We get excited with the fast times and the great teams at the champs, but, we miss the dangers of what is happening. And so, a lot of them, Greg, do not fulfill what we think should happen, because every year you can pick out at least maybe 5, 6, 10 world beaters based on the talent that you see.
Um, Somebody was saying, Mr. Mills, could you look in the camera a little bit more than not seeing your face? Thank you. Yes. We have to work to accomplish that, and that can be something I'm 100% willing to do that. I know it's a tough task because of what is to benefit. But if we are to dominate track and field for the next umpteen years, we have to protect the young talent, as you said, male and female. So we have to make the issue, we have to make it an issue, and we have to keep repeating ourselves until it catch on, Mr.
Because
Mill.
I think is that when you look at the calendar, if you're a good athlete in high school, you run all year.
True.
At least this, the most schools start training in August, right? August and thing. They in Christmas in the camp,
Yeah.
right? Then the track meet starts. Every week there's a meet. But the athlete don't need to run every week. And then you start with the first major competition. You have you have Gibson Relay, then you have the regional meets like Eastern Champ, Western Champ, Corporate Area Development Meet. Then you go into champs. And because you're good, you go into Carifta, Penn Relays, and then you come back, you have World Juniors or Pan Am in the summer, etc. So you keep going. And then when you come back at the end of July, is training in August again.
Yeah. That's a rigorous schedule.
There's
That's
no way, there's no way athletes who are allowed to go through that kind of rigorous thing for 3 years is going to excel at the next level, because they remember, these are youngsters whose hormone and maturity and thing is not there yet. And then some programs train 15-year-olds like they are 19 and 20-year-olds.
yes.
So
So true.
all these things that, yeah, so that is why I said that it would be good if the national body could get the kind of brain thing, and then you point out the people who thing, and you're not taking them away from the coaches or anything, but you try to talk to the coach and give them information, guidelines, and hope that they will use it
Follow.
to
Yeah. Makes
because
sense.
a lot of our top girls and boys are injured. So and that is the problem. Right now, if you look at the people who over the last 2 years who are on top of the world, on top of the junior level, quite a number of them have had hamstring or ACL injuries. So so this is something that if you want to get the benefit of them and to preserve the continuity, this is something you have to do. Because if you notice that the last 10 years, the people who shine and doing at the level are, most of them are not the top people at champs. I don't
Yeah.
remember when I saw Shelly, and I'm trying to remember at champs. I want
You
to say
can make a
name, I can't
case that some
remember
of the
at champs.
greatest. You can make a
But I
case for
remember
some.
the ones who beat them at champs and was in as So this is something
You can
that
make a case. You can make a case, Mr. Mills, that some of the greatest athletes we have now did not have a rigorous boys or girls champs. Um,
that's the case I make. That's the point I'm making.
yeah, yeah. I want to transition because I want you've been so great, man. I keep you here all night, but I have to have a content. Um, so I want you to know, Mr. Mills, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate everything. I have a few more questions, real quick. If you want to stay with me all night, I'm free. But
No,
you know,
yeah, but I'm not. So let's see if we can get to this question. I will do it again another time.
so let me ask you
But
two
let
more
me
and,
hear.
and send you on your way, because every coach and someone like you, world class coach, have such great success. I am sure that you have missed the mark along the way. what would you say are your three biggest failures as a coach?
Ah, um, that's more difficult than anything because my DNA don't allow me to record failures. We learn from them and we move on and thing. But mm, it's something that I have to think about and go through the whole. I know I wanted to win champs, but I finished second four times.
Ah,
But I just never had the firepower. But I don't think there's so much coaching as resources. Um, that's difficult. I can't really tell you. I know I must have had. Well, I know when I started working on my speed thing, I had some challenges, and maybe one and two persons might have suffered from inexperience and knowledge and
mhm.
thing. But my career has been and has been so good to me and so littered with things that when I look back, I'm amazed. I mean, I know when I started out, I'm not answering your question because I'll tell you I don't have it, but when I started out, I wanted to be a coach, and then afterward, I wanted to be a good coach, and then afterward, I keep moving the meter till I said I want to be one of the best coach that the world has ever seen. And
Mm.
then I said, well, whenever I could be the best the world has ever seen, I probably keep spend the remaining years before retirement, see if it could become a reality. But when I look and see that there's so many, I mean, Bolt is my greatest thing as an individual. But when I look at working on having a dream of finishing one, two, three in
Yeah,
at
an
the
Olympic.
Olympics,
Yeah.
and I started working on it with when I started working on Warren, and he could tell you the story, how we started the dream and the plans at how to get through the trials and so on and thing. It and then it became a reality. That's a pearl that I'll keep in my thing because Warren Weir never won anything at champs. I don't remember him even contesting a sprint final. And so to when he came to racers, he came as a hurdler. But when he went when he went to see the doctor because his knee was a problem, the doctor says your hurdling days are over.
Mm.
Because you can't the knee won't take it. And I remember when he came and he was so depressed. And I put my hand around him and said, don't worry, son, I'm gonna turn you into a sprinter. And him look at me. I said, yes. And for him to have won medals at the Olympics and the World Championship, and to be a part of that threesome thing, and then the fact that I was able to win five of the six medals in at the Olympics. Those are I don't remember. I can't remember the failures. It's hard. I mean, I went to the World Championship and I was pretty confident I could get a gold medal in the 100 because Hughes was in great shape and thing and so on. On the other hand, Oblique, he had come on well, but he was a little short because of the injury he had before leading up to the trial. I was confident that Watson would get to the finals because he was improving and running so well. But for him to, I always wanted to win the 400. Yes, But you know that.
I know that.
Well,
And I tell you,
yeah.
I think I was more enjoying that race than you, because when I saw him and I knew.
Listen, man. I always wanted to win that sport,
Yeah,
and so I never realized it's 40 years since Bert had won had won,
yeah.
and so to come out with getting the gold medal that I wanted, although it wasn't anything. I mean, is thing. But when I remember, I look back through my career and say where what I'm disappointments. But you see, the thing is that my philosophy is that life is not a smooth road
True,
to end. So
true.
when I encounter difficulties, I expect it to happen. I don't want it to happen. So it gives me a different energy to tackle it. You understand?
Yeah.
I don't sit down and fret and ring man and say, boy, just assault no, I don't believe in those things. I
You know,
believe that once you
I,
start the journey, you must have difficulties. Prepare yourself to overcome these difficulties and
I
find
want to say
solutions.
this. I want to say this, Mr. Mills, because I was talking with Raymond Stewart, and he said that when he was a boy, you told him this, and he followed it even today. That if you're experiencing any issue, you have to get up and do something about it in order to fix it. You have to think outside of the box if you really
Yes,
want to
yes.
solve the problem. And he said that he hold on to that up until today. So I'm just using that to say I totally understand what you're saying. And I can see you teaching the younger ones them too to say, look, sit down and play dead is not the way. You have to get up and you
Yeah,
have to do
man.
something about it. I have one last question and then I'm going to send you away, Mr. Mills. If you could be 30 years of age again, what would you change in your coaching philosophy?
um, I wouldn't change my coaching philosophy, but what I would do more, I would want to learn a lot more about the human body.
Yeah.
I think I know some, but I think if I had the knowledge of a doctor about the human body, I would it would make me even a better coach if that's because it would help me with my programs and how the human body functions. And I know the basics and I know enough to do what I mean, but I think a greater knowledge would be a greater asset.
Appreciate you, Mr. Mills. You have been a great inspiration for many. You know, um, you deserve it. You have sacrificed so much to achieve what you achieve now. And what you have shown people out there is that you should never stop working, because sometimes you may think you're too old, you can't achieve it. You may think you're not smart enough and you can't achieve it, but you have achieved some of the greatest track and field accomplishment at the latter part of your career, where you can look back now and you see all the work and you realize that everything that you were doing from Camperdown days to know that everything came together to help you to be who you are as a coach right now. One final thought, and I leave this up to you, and then I close, Mr. Mills. Is there anything else you would like the world to know about the Dr. Honorable Glen Mills, who have achieved so much? Is there anything
Well,
else you would like to know?
what I want to leave them with, you gotta believe, and believe. You gotta understand what is meant to believe. When you believe, you have absolutely no doubt, and once you believe, you will achieve. But you have to believe, and if you believe, and tomorrow you as I would say, you buck your toe, and you begin to doubt, then you never believe.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay, Greg. And it's been a pleasure. I enjoyed more than I thought I would. And
Thank
you've
you
been
very
a
much.
great
And
you've
may
been a
God
great
continue.
you've been a great host. You yes,
That's
you
why
done
they
an
call me Dr.
excellent
Greg.
job. I didn't know you were so good. You're a better host than a quarter miler.
Thank
That
you
to
very
show how
much.
good you were. No, I really enjoyed it, and it's true.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mills. And
Yes, that's
I
really nice.
thank you
Really
very
nice
much. And may
talking.
God
Maybe we
continue
can
to
meet
bless
again
you.
another time, talk about the whole thing, but we will talk.
Yeah, man.
And
Thank you
thank you
very
for
much.
having me, and God bless everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mills. God bless
Yes,
you as well.
thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate you staying with me for the entire time. I didn't want to put Mr. Mills through it, but as he said, he was enjoying the moment. I was enjoying the moment too, because at some point it seemed like I was watching the interview than I was actually engaging with Mr. Mills. But I appreciate all of you coming out. I appreciate your contribution. I appreciate your time. If you like this interview, please be generous and share. And it don't cost you a dime to give me a thumbs up for this interview. So if you haven't showed no, any love, as the gentleman said, please, before we go, just give me a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please go ahead and subscribe. Within the next 2 weeks, we have Veronica Campbell live. She's looking forward to this. I am looking forward to this because I was trying to get a hold of her for the longest time. So the next 2 weeks, we are going to have a ball. So please subscribe, please share, and I look forward to see you with this live again the next 2 weeks when we will be talking to Veronica Campbell. Thank you all for coming out, and may God continue to bless and keep you all safe.